What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Every Week We Follow. So today we've got a little bit of a special episode where we're going to look at the winter transfers. So I think there was five.
But it's anything but winter, mate. I'm al fresco, mate. I'm outside.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
I feel like
beautiful today, isn't it? It's
I
nice
go back
day.
to the. I feel like I'm on the big breakfast or something where I'm doing like it's nice. So we're outside. Do a little bit of al fresco dining.
I think this is the last day though that it's meant to be decent weather, and I think it's going to start going a bit rubbish again.
That's it, mate. That's it. Just zap my mojo straight away. There I am enjoying my life, sitting outside.
You're sat outside. I'm sat inside, so I'm just like, nah. Anyway, how you doing, Gav?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm sunshining. I'm a little bit sad that the season's coming to an end, mate, because obviously it's been a bit of a journey for us, isn't it? Like what?
Yeah.
What
I mean, for me, it's also like it's the only time that I get away from like the house. So it's quite nice sometimes to have that little break. Hopefully Jess doesn't watch this, but it is sad because it's been a bit of it's been a proper roller coaster of the season. It also feels like it's just gone like this, and then it's just going like that, and that's just coming to an end, which is a bit of a shame. But it's going to be either it's going to be one hell of a crescendo, and it's going to end on a massive bang, or it's going to end with a.
Well, mate, whatever happens in the next week or so, right? It's going to be an exciting and final day, regardless. The battle for the Champions League spot is just exciting as it can be. You know, it could go anyway. Like it's going to be twisted turns even on the final day. Yeah, of course they are, mate. It's going to be set up for, isn't it? So on reflection, I'm just trying to be in a positive kind of whatever happens. It's been a good season. We're going to build.
I'm still, I'm still happy, like to get the quarterfinals of the Champions League, the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and qualify for Europa. I know it could be conference, but I feel like stuff would have to go pretty heavily against us for that to happen.
Yeah.
I think Europa League with a chance of being in that next season, chance of winning it as well. More than the Champions League, for instance. I think it's been a brilliant season, and I think the main thing for me is that I feel like we've learned quite a lot about our players and who really are going to be the ones to really kick us on, and those who are perhaps not as consistent as they need to be, and we potentially need those upgrades. So I think Emery will have learned a lot about the squad this season. Obviously, we'll go into it in a sec, but those 3 loan signings, they are loans. So unless you essentially keep them, you're immediately got a weaker squad than you ended it with.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say, mate, after reactions of certain players on Friday after the Spurs game, we're going to be it feels like next season it could be a season of transition regardless of whatever happens, because players are going to be going. So whether we keep those 3, and obviously there's going to be departures, I pray to God it's not Emery. I don't want Emery to go out of all of them, but
yeah, I mean we'll talk about, we'll go more into depth.
But other than that,
I think
this is where, mate. What I wanted to say was this is where we have to keep the faith. Lots of people having meltdowns about players selling. Like Emery's not. I don't think Emery's going anywhere. That's first and foremost. I think he's sticking around, and we're building something, right? So, okay, it feels like, because I don't even want to get into the PSR thing because I'm so frustrated. We need to do an episode on the PSR proper, because I need to research it and find out all the numbers and stuff. But
we need the numbers first, right? Yeah. We need numbers to really understand. But I think the thing is that I think we've done so well these past 2.5 years. That I just think the expectations need to be managed a little from the fans, because
agreed,
it's not a disaster if we don't get the Champions League again. It's also not a disaster if we don't get the Champions League next season. The key and the thing that Emery keeps saying is just consistency, and he's saying consistency in Europe. So, if we got Europa League for the next 3 seasons and we were fighting it each season to try and either win the thing or to get into the Champions League via the league, that's massive, massive success and massive improvement. And it allows us to build properly.
Yeah, well, if you look at the way we play, there was a few comments on our last video about, this is the way we play. It's keep ball and kind of slow pace, and we slow teams down to, and right.
It wasn't last season.
But if I'm honest, right, we do that and we play that way because at the moment, the standard of our play isn't quite where we like. If we're talking about consistency in Europe, right, and reaching to compete in the Champions League consistently or any European competition, the key to success in that is getting to the levels of your PSGs and Barcelona, because they play the same way, right? Similar to us, possession-based football. But look at the tempo they play. Look at that semi-final against Inter Barca. Look at the way Paris play. They like it's one way, but it's quick and it's fat, and the players are good enough to do it and devastating at pace, right?
That's the key.
That's the key, isn't it? So
the players are good. I just don't know if they're quite that. Like, I don't know if they're quite suited to that.
It's about Emery getting the players that he wants. We talked about this all the time, of having the players that he wants. Remember, he's done this with players that aren't necessarily his.
Well, like half the team, right? Is probably his. Yeah, there's key areas.
We said this, haven't we? Like, we probably shouldn't have even been in the Champions League this season, really. Like, it was probably one step too far. And yet, look at the season we've had. It's been incredible, absolutely incredible. So, if we can continue to build with that playing philosophy and get to the tempo that we played in certain games, like against Paris, like against Bayern, and do that consistently, mate. Honestly, I've said to you so many times, we're this close to being great, or to actually winning something. And people go, I've done a couple of TikTok lives where talked about potentially winning the league. Under Emery, if he stays building what he's doing, I promise you, in 2 to 3 seasons, I think that could be a possibility. I'll put it out there.
No, I agree. I think a lot of it also. I think there's also the context of what happens with teams around us as well, because obviously they are all like growing and they're all getting better every season. Like the league is getting more and more competitive every season at the moment. So
you only have to look at the middle of the table, don't you, to see that?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely mental. And we just need to keep doing what we're doing, keep progressing like we are. We've got the right manager, we've got the right board, we've got the owners. So I think for me, the key is, and this is why Emery's saying about consistently getting Europe, is I think that gets that PSR thing off our backs, which 100%. Seems to hit every season at the moment. And it's like and I actually don't think PSR is as big of an issue as people are thinking it is. I think it's more just at the moment, and I think for a lot of clubs it's the same.
Yeah.
If we want to improve the squad, we've got to sell some players. So I think it's just simply the fact that if we want to buy, we need to sell. I don't think that's a PSR issue. That's just the way it is with profit and sustainability.
A few comments have been batted away. There's one particular guy on TikTok who keeps jumping onto on my live, who keeps telling me, it's our wages. It's like 98% of our problem.
Our wages are high, and I do think we'll get onto it in another pod. But players like Luca Dean, who are on high salary, coming into the last year of his contract. Players like, we've still got Coutinho on our books. We've still got Donker. We've got quite a lot of like wages that are they're not nothing. Like they're decent wages. And it's why potentially players like Rashford and stuff, we just can't take them on full time, because it probably actually doesn't make sense. But anyway, so what we're going to talk about here is the main 5 winter signings. So Marco Asensio,
success or failure?
Yeah, exactly. Marco Asensio, Axel Disasi, Andres Garcia.
Nice accent, mate. Like that.
Andres Garcia, Marcus Rashford. And a good old Donny Kebab. So,
mate, if this fails, you can get your own sketch show on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah, good old Donny
Kebab. We could be the new Little Britain duo, but you could be Matt Lucas, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate. I need to lose a bit of hair for that, I think.
Maybe that's my job then.
Didn't someone say on one of our things that I look like David
Williams?
Which is like, I was like, what? I look nothing like David Williams. What? So honestly, anyone in the comments, if you think I look like David Williams, just tell me, because I'm just like, what's going on?
This has got to be in the eyes, mate.
I look at something. I don't know what's going. Like, he doesn't have a beard. Does he even wear glasses? I think he looks nothing like me. Anyway,
he can wear glasses. Yeah, mate. It's got to be in the eyes, mate. Maybe that's where they can see.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so first up, Andreas Garcia. This is so I've got the stats, but I haven't gone like deep into like substitution appearances and all this kind of thing. You can average it out. So he's actually made 10 appearances, 506 minutes. So actually around 50 minutes an appearance on average. No assists, which is probably a bit disappointing from a player in his position. But also, I mean, no clean sheets. But again, with him being a right back, it's not necessarily his fault, and it's also and it's also down to like what games he's playing in.
This is where stats don't necessarily do players justice, do they? So you
No,
can read what you want into them, because actually, apart from his mistake against Liverpool, where he gifted them a goal, right? I thought he's been really consistent, and although he hasn't got assists, mate, he's produced some good moments down the right hand side with good quality crosses.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't the assist to the assist.
Yeah. And actually, if we had maybe a better centre forward that we won't go into, maybe like someone gets on the end of some of those crosses. Do you know what I mean? He's been for me a real spark, and I think there's massive potential in this guy. I hope that we're going to get to see more of him next year.
That's one thing I didn't put, actually. I can't remember how old he is. Is he 22, 20?
Mate, he's so young, but he looks about 35. I was looking at him warm up the other day, and he's got a fully grown beard. I thought, there's no way you're 20 or whatever he is. Like,
he's 20. He's 22. He turned 22 in Feb.
Mate, he looks about 34. Like, honestly, he's obviously had a rough life. Like,
he's actually quite big, isn't he?
Yeah,
in real life, he's a bit bigger than I thought. But yeah, he's still not quite Danny Ings, the oldest looking 29-year-old I've ever seen in my life.
Well, no, but mate, obviously, clearly, Andreas was probably the one that goes to the off license and buys all the beer. Do you know what I mean? That's the when he in the youth team. But no, he looks the part, and I think he's I think he's definitely been bought to be used. With the fact that, like you said, he's had over 50 minutes in his appearances. That's been more than probably other players, which we'll go into in a minute. But yeah, so I think he's going to be one to watch next season. I really do. Yeah. I think he could take Matty Cash's place. I think he's probably better. He looks better going forward, in my opinion. Right, but we'll have to see what Emery's got up his sleeve. But he's an Emery player, isn't he? And so you would.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say I agree. He's one of the permanent signings. He's only two of the permanent in this list. He cost €7 million from Levante. And obviously Levante, because they were in the second league within Spain, right? Like they weren't, second level. So he's done really, really well to actually compete at the level that he's playing.
And he was selected. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here in the comments, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe because we forgot again. But and in terms of, I'm sure he was called up for the Spain squad, wasn't he? I'm sure he was in the Spain squad. Like, so that shows to me that it's not just Emery recognising stuff. If he's being selected for his country, like there's obviously something there.
Yeah, Spain as well. It's
big, competitions galore, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool. Well, keeping it at the back, let's go on to Mr. Axel Disasi. I was thinking about this, right? There can't be many players called Axel, right? And somehow we've managed to have two play for us within the last hour.
Yeah.
Twice as well.
Mate, the only other Axel I know outside of out of these players was Axel Foley, and that's from Beverly Hills Cop. Where's my Casio keyboard? There you go. There's no way that's being copyrighted, mate, because that's terrible. It doesn't even sound like.
Hopefully that doesn't get copyright flagged, because that was perfect. So Disasi was obviously brought in. Actually, it was quite a bit of a surprise sight, because it was a bit of an emergency loan deal.
It was, wasn't it?
With Mings and Torres and Konsa go out, I think, at the same time as well.
And Cash was injured, wasn't he? He'd done his hamstring again.
Well, part of the problem was we were fed up of putting Konsa out right back as well.
Yeah.
So we wanted someone who could be backup as well as Garcia, who potentially would be a bit more physical, could try and play right back, also play centre back.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, never. I never want to see a centre back at right back ever again. I'm fed up with it. It doesn't work. We get when you put him on. When you put him on, and there's Doku running at him, it's just like, what are you doing,
mate? That decision in the City game, right?
That's what's done us.
And I travelled to Manchester for that. And you know what was painful about that, right? For whatever reason, whether it's nerves from Emery, but it almost like he fell into Guardiola's trap, right? Because as soon as he made that substitution, right, Guardiola was almost like waiting for it. I don't know if he goaded him before the game, Cash ain't going to last the distance, you'll have to bring Disasi on. And then the first thing they did was to kind of settle him down. Was they played 3 balls, or what? I swear it's clear as day. 3 balls over the top, which Disasi won easily. Obviously, just headed him away, right? And you could see him grooming his touch. And then the next 3 passes were to Doku's feet, right?
Yeah.
And the first 2, we had cover and we dealt with it. But the last one in the final minute, he just got drawn into it, and the rest is history. We lose the game in the last 10 seconds, which is just like you say. If that point now just seems massive, doesn't it?
Well, it's not just 1 point for us; it's 2 points off City.
Well,
so, and it's the same with the Forest one, right? It's 3 points off them, 3 points for us. These
key
are the
moments,
ones,
mate. Key moments.
Yeah, just massive things. But no, 10 games played. Again, can't remember how many of those have been substitutions. 1 clean sheet, technically 2 if you count, but it was like he came on for like 8 minutes. So I was like, no, that don't count.
Well, it's not all bad. Obviously, there's 2 moments that keep sticking on. Obviously, the PSG away, right, when he got, again, it cost us, didn't it? That goal would probably be in the Champions League semi-final. And then, but it's not all bad news, because against Brentford, when we won away, this guy was absolutely colossal.
Yeah, no, I will say there has been moments that there. I mean, there is rumours that we are actually in talks to sign him full time. To be honest, from my side, I'm not against that, because I'm as long as he's brought in just to play centre back.
Yeah.
He's a squad player for centre back, because to be fair, he's good enough stature that he's good enough to come in and do a job, and he's also not so big that he's going to moan about not starting. So I actually think he's probably the right kind of player to be there as that right centre back.
This signing, mate, shows to me that clubs need to start listening to fans, because all the Chelsea fans, when we got him, said he's crap at right back, but he's an half decent centre half, and that's exactly what's been proven. Do you know what I mean?
Fans watch every game. Fans watch every game. Every game he's ever played, fans will have watched.
Yeah. So you get some real raw feedback, don't you? Which is okay. None of us are qualified technically. Like, none of us hold you out for B licenses or A licenses or whatever. But
you can see, you can see
with your eyes, right? And sometimes it's not rocket science. It's just like what you see. So, he's got massive potential at centre back, and I guess if the talk is of signing him, does that mean Mings is potentially on his way out?
No, because he's not a left centre back. Emery's very, very particular about left foot, right foot.
Well, worse than mate. A bid's coming in for Konza.
No. We need a backup. Who do we? We don't have anyone. We don't have anyone to back up Konza.
Yeah,
he's our backup. So I feel like it makes sense. He's in the squad. I think apparently they've also been really impressed with his determination, his diligence, and his attitude. So they've been really, really impressed with that.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, look, he'll hit the ground running. We don't need another centre back to come in, learn how Emery plays, learn the higher line offside rule and all that kind of stuff. Not the rule, because obviously I hope players understand that. But although I'm still not quite sure sometimes with some players. The amount of strikes you see offside is insane. One thing actually I meant to say, I wanted to rank the signings out of 5. So actually, Garcia, out of 5, what would you give it?
For me, he's one of the better ones. I'm going to go. Can I go halves, or has it got to be a whole number?
Yeah. I would say at the same time.
All right, 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. So he's better than a 3. He's not quite a 4.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Disasi?
Great minds. Mate, for the mistakes at the moment, right, obviously centre back, probably a 3.5, but for how he's been used and just on appearances, it'd be a 2 for me.
Oh yeah, I'd go for a 3. I think he's been useful. I think there have been some games, like you said, the Brentford game and stuff, where he has been an absolute rock.
Yeah, he gets the 2 for the Brentford game, mate. But the I can't get the Paris and the City game. It's like,
I know,
sorry, mate.
I know, but I'm going to give him a 3. But I understand where you're coming from with that. So if we then move up the field, let's go to a player who started really well, but has kind of gone a little bit off the ball recently. Bit of a balls deep moment for Gaz with this player at one point.
Mate, he's just too handsome to not like. Look at
him. He's even telling you, give me a call.
Yeah, call me.
Give me a call, Gaz. Call me
Marco.
anytime, day or night.
Yeah, Marco's my man.
Anyway, 20 game match appearances, 8 goals, which is an impressive return.
It is an impressive return, mate.
1 assist, 2 yellow cards, and just over 1,000 minutes. So again, only about 50 minutes, 50, 60, I think, 51, 53 minutes.
The concern going forward has he got the legs to play for 90 minutes and influence games? Probably not, right?
Well, not right now. Without a pre-season, without a whole, yeah.
But you can't say that there's not a player in there. And for me, what he did in the early starts, mate, he got me off my seat better than any player that I've seen at Villa Park, honestly. And not just because of the goals and what he did on the ball, but it was his movement off the ball. It was absolutely sensational, and it just seemed to lift everybody else. Suddenly, Morgan Rogers was being experimental and flair, But we've talked about this in recent games when they both played together. It's nullified Rogers. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm now kind of sat on the fence a little bit. But those first few games when he was linking up with Rashford and the goals were coming, mate, absolute will beater this player can be. There's obviously potential there. So it is maybe a risk, because if we can get that Asensio firing on all cylinders consistently, mate, we got some player there. He's 29. You could get another 2-3 years out of him at the highest level. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm a fan. I really like him. Again, because he's a proper footballer.
I think it's also it's good to have we've got not young, but some of the key areas of our squad are quite young, and I'm like, it is good to have slightly older, really experienced
players.
Been there, done it. He does have those moments. He is that player that can have that moment. If only he'd scored that chance against PSG.
Against PSG,
he
mate.
Would literally be an absolute club legend from 20 appearances. Yeah.
I mean,
it makes me sick to think about that. No, I can't dwell on that. It's horrible.
It's PTSD, mate. I'm almost caught. I mean, I can't tears, mate.
This ratio of goal return is actually quite a lot higher than his previous records at different clubs. So I think, if I remember rightly, it was around 14 goals or something in about 60 appearances. Or he had 40, 50 goals in 200 appearances, somewhere around those kind of ratios. So this is actually a really high ratio for him. I think that he was very sharp early on. The stuff that I've heard is that the main concern within the Villa camp is that his legs just aren't there. He just can't go that energy and that pace for 90 minutes. I don't think we need him to. I don't think we need him to be a player that is going to play 90 minutes week in, week out. He's not Morgan Rogers. He's not Yuri Tielemans. I think he is a player that can play that 60, 65 minutes, rotate out, bring someone else on with energy who's then going to run them ragged. I think
mate,
that
for
makes quite a lot of sense.
We've talked, the big debate was about John McGinn, wasn't it? And should he be starting and all that kind of stuff. We had that kind of discussion. And actually, if you were to rotate those two between them, because obviously they're both kind of aging, but both bring very different things to the team, but you want both attributes. Do you know what I mean? And they're very different players. So whether you start with one or the other, and then these two they can both change games or both influence games from the start. So if you're saying to him, right, you've got 60 minutes today, go out there, run yourself into the ground, and then we'll bring McGinn on with energy, or vice versa. John, go, depending on the team you're playing. Do you know what I mean? Because if you need a ball player, you've got Asensio. If you need the dogged grounding hustle and bustle, you've got McGinn. Because I think the debate is, how does McGinn fit into the team going forward with his age and kind of, he's our club captain, you want to keep him, but this would be a perfect solution to that, in my opinion.
I think he's also, like I've said, with the way that we're evolving how we play, and we're having to, because the way teams are sitting on us, I think he's one of those rare players that can unlock a door, and he can unlock, and he's very good. His delivery is good. So in terms of things like free kicks and stuff, as much as you hate Aston McPhee, maybe this guy can actually...
I don't hate Aston McPhee, mate. I'm just pointing out facts. I've got no hate towards the man. Right? It's just...
honestly, when he comes out and starts doing this and doing all this shit, doing all this fucking Zulu shit.
The head did not help,
going
mate.
on? It's Right.
It felt, but like he might as well be carrying a playbook that says set pieces for dummies under his arm. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, honestly, it's so funny. It's so funny to watch. But no, I think Asensio, him, and obviously a player that we're about to talk about soon, completely
Wait,
changed our season.
okay, so score rankings for this guy. You go first on this one.
I would have said about 4 weeks ago, like a 4. I'm gonna go like a 3.75.
Okay, I don't want to go 4, so I'm going to go 3.9, mate. Then because I think just because like he's got enough in the tank from the early start, from the eight goals return in the time he's been there. It's been incredible. And I think very few players.
By the way, 3 of those, by the way, were in the Champions League.
Yeah, and
which is
I think he has the ability to raise other players around him. And so for that, it would have been a 4 if he'd have carried on, or maybe even a 5 if he'd have scored against PSG. It'd have been like kind of like say club legend status. But yeah, I go 3.9 because he's close to that 4 for me, just because he's an absolute baller. And yes, he's been a bit inconsistent in the last few games, but I think that comes down to maybe a little bit of tiredness, maybe getting used to the Premier League, all that kind of stuff. We've had a big fixture congestion pile up, and he's with Rashford in and out of the squad, and not. But there's been lots of changes going on in terms of the squad and now what Emery's done to rotate it. So, he gets to 3.9 for me. I love him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah. Well, one last thing is, I mean, so he got 3 goals in Champions League out of 4 appearances, by the way. So it just shows that from a big game standpoint, he is like
he can be the man, can't he?
A bit surprised only 1 assist.
If he's been on the end of them, and if you think about it, if you've been,
but you feel like he should be the player that's not on the end of them, right? He should be the player that's
100%. But if you obviously because he's ended up finishing his own move, but I think I'd be interested to see the stat of how many of those goals he scored he actually started. Do you know what I mean in terms of moving the ball?
He might be like the assist to the assist or something.
Assist to the assist, yeah. So it's kind of obviously gets the plaudits for the goals and direct assists, yes, maybe only 1, but. Again, this is where stats don't necessarily reflect the play that we're seeing there. So,
I agree. So next one, good old Donny.
Donny, mate. Never have I wanted to give another man a hug in my entire life. Like, what's a boy got to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
what's a boy got to do?
I mean, we were saying though before we came on here when I showed you these stats, you're actually quite surprised at how many minutes he's played.
Yeah.
And appearances. Obviously, like I said, the appearances don't take into account how many of those were like substitution. I think there were only 3 starts, maybe. This includes his FA Cup appearances. I'm guessing he probably had like two like 80-minute games. I haven't checked fully, and that would prop up those minutes quite drastically. I mean, 3 goals. Whenever he's come on, he's looked lively. He seems to generally, actually, when he comes on, he generally plays. He replaces Watkins.
Well, worth noting, mate, that those 3 goals were in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, no,
3 and 3.
They were. He was hitting a run, and then he dropped him.
Yeah. This has baffled. This signing has baffled me, mate. I don't understand what the purpose was if you're not going to play the man. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, fine. So on the day he signed, he did his interview with AVTV, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm here to play Champions League football." A week later, left out of the squad. Right? Okay, you go. Okay, right. I understand that. Tough one to make because you've already got the 25, and it's difficult to kind of fit people in, right? And you can't swap players out, is my understanding, right? Because obviously I'd have kicked Bailey on a rocket out of that squad faster than you could say boo, but it didn't happen. And so you would expect naturally that he's going to get some minutes either in the league or in the FA Cup that we were obviously going through. And it just didn't happen. Like, and even when it did, it's like it felt like it was the last 5 minutes or the last 3 minutes or stoppage time even. I mean, that game against Brighton when he scored away, the only reason he got more minutes there because there was like 10 minutes added time or something like that at the end of it. So, it built up that way. But like you said, every time he's come on, he looks direct. He looks like he wants to run at players. Like he offers something. And so my only understanding and my only hope, and it's the hope that kills you, as we always say, is that there's plans for him for next season. Do you know what I mean? This guy is going to play the majority of our football next season, and hopefully he'll be a bit of a surprise to the Premier League. That's the only thing I can hope for.
He was signed early in the window. Him and Garcia were both signed quite early, so you like to think that they were already lined up. They'd already been scouted. They'd already been worked on, like long term. You got to remember also, he's the only one. Him and Garcia are the only perm signings, so he was a permanent signing. I want to believe, this has to be the case, that the plan just changed because of those last minute loan signings that came in. Yeah. So bringing in Asensio, bringing in Rashford, mainly because I think, if I remember rightly, Ramsey got an injury as well. Yeah. So it was like, shit, we need backup on that left hand side. But then an opportunity came up for Rashford quite late on. We're like, do it. And obviously we changed the way we play because of that, because you can't have Rashford and Marlon on either wing running. It just doesn't work for the way we play. So I want to think that Rashford's going to go back. I can't see us signing him, even if we get Champions. I just can't see us signing him with the wages and his attitude.
I agree, mate.
Publicly, his attitude doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
This will give Marlon those minutes next season. Bailey will go, and I'm just like, if he doesn't, then this is probably the biggest failure of a signing that we've had.
Yeah.
Because he looks the part. He comes on. He seems to do really well. I love a bold player. Like, there's not many bold players. You don't get them running around shining in your head.
They're my heroes. Do you know what I mean?
You don't get many of them. You don't get many of them nowadays. And he just looks dangerous whenever he's on the ball. He's fast. He's got a good shot on him. He's got a really good finish. And I just feel like he has to play more minutes next season. I want to see those minutes up in, like, the 2000 mid 2000s. That's where it should be.
100%, mate. Like you said, if that doesn't happen, then it's a fight. It's a pointless fight, and it's a fight.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense as a signing. I don't understand. Why would he leave? Was it Dortmund? Was it?
Yeah, Dortmund.
He was at Dortmund playing week in, week out, playing the Champions League, to come to Villa to just be pretty much a big part player. But obviously, he was gonna play in the Champions League, and again, unfortunately for him, with the way things happened, he couldn't.
I hope there's not an attitude problem with this guy, mate, but it doesn't feel like it, because he even said in an interview recently that it was about the bigger picture when he was asked about, like, left out the Champions League squad. And so
it's media training there, right? Like, all players are going to say, no one's going to, unless you're a dickhead. You're not going to go, I'm angry.
No, you're not. But body language speaks lots, doesn't it? If it wasn't the case, his minutes when he comes on, he wouldn't be putting that infant if there wasn't some sort of discussion that's going, look, you're going to be one of the main men next year. It's just about filling the time, because, like you said there, the point was we probably weren't expecting to get Asensio and Rashford. They were last minute signings and they came in, and that's kind of hindered his minutes probably. So let's hope it's kind of a different kettle of fish next season for him.
Yeah, we also know that usually with Emery, when he brings in a signing, he introduces them quite slowly. And it does tend to take 3, 4, 5 months before he starts to really give him a run in the team. Now, obviously, he was signed in January. So by the time that time comes, it's the end of the season. The other players that came in were loan players, so they're not going to have the time to do that. He needed players who are ready-made, who are going to hit the ground running. So Asensio, Rashford play. So I want to think that, it may have always been that his minutes weren't going to be massive this season anyway.
Yeah.
Like he has tended to play Bailey here and there recently. So it might just be that he's still helping him learn the way we play, wants him to learn the system, needs to get a pre-season under his belt, and then next season he can really show us what he's all about. Because I need to be singing Donna Kebab from the stands. I can't be sitting there waiting for someone and cheer that shiny bald head to run on the pitch.
I might have to be his head polisher, mate, next season, just to get it nice and shiny for those appearances.
So out of 5 for Donny.
Well, mate, okay. So I'm just basing this on the minutes that he's got, mate, and what I've seen, which obviously for me isn't many, but for what I've seen, I'd give him a 4. I think he's been effective. He scored 3 goals in three games, and every time he's come on, he's looked like he could change the game. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that in the background, but I've just had a visitor into the garden just to tell me that Emmy might be staying.
Oh,
There's a bit
really?
of a media report. Well, there's a media. I saw it this morning, but it's from the Villa report. I think that says that there's been no offers, no approaches or anything like that. So
I don't
maybe it's
believe
just
that.
hay fever on Friday, but I'm not
I
convinced by
don't
that.
believe
It'll all
that.
kick off. Mate,
There's definitely been approaches. There's definitely been stuff.
we,
There's no
we
there's
yeah,
no
of course,
smoke
mate.
without fire.
You want to calm that down before the last game of the season, didn't you? Once Sunday's off and over, it's all going to kick off, innit? So and we'll do anything. But anyway, back to this one. So yeah, a 4 for me, mate, because goals have been good. He's got, he took the finishes really well. Southampton, Brighton, and at home against Forest. Yeah. And that was an important goal, mate. So I'm excited by this in a lot of way. I know we've just said like it could be a biggest failure if he doesn't play, but I'm also excited that if it does work out and he gets those minutes, he could be an absolute superstar for us. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. On the signing, I'd probably get if it was like if he'd played more minutes and I was looking at it just based on performances, probably a 3.75 is about right. I think I'm going to give it a 3 because I just feel like it's a missed opportunity. I just feel like he was a good signing. He wasn't that expensive. He's got good experience. There was a massive blunder with the whole Champions League situation, so we weren't able to use him. And then he hasn't played in the FA Cup, and he just hasn't had enough appearance. He hasn't been given the chance, but he's made an impact. So I would say, like a 3 or a 3.5 is probably where I'll put him. So on to the Rashi. So the big one here is 17 appearances, 6 assists. Probably, I think 4 of them are probably Asensio. So because they just seem to have this really incredible chemistry and link up at the very start when he came in. 4 goals, 940 minutes. It's actually quite a lot of minutes he's played. And he started out on the left, and then he seems to have moved and gone. No, he's a 9 now. I don't know where that was Emery. Well, I don't know if that was Emery's decision or Marcus's request. That's an interesting. That was the thing I was thinking about because I actually believe that he is best off the left. Personally, I don't think.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
And I don't believe that Emery is watching him going, yeah, you're a striker. Like I think he is better. Even when he plays striker, he drifts out to the left all the time, and so I'm like,
like he's been okay for us. Like the numbers are good, but it's not the Rashford of old. Like
there is moment. You mentioned PSG second half was absolutely unreal.
Don't get me wrong. We've seen snippets of the old Rashford, right? But we talk about consistency, don't we? Right? And you mentioned it earlier. There's something not quite right with him off the pitch that affects his football. Like if you look at second half against PSG at home, brilliant. But the first leg, mate, I was screaming at my TV because he did not work hard enough. Like the press was terrible, and he put us under pressure. And you've got he didn't. He almost looked disinterested. But then and that's that level of inconsistency is frustrating. It shows to me that there's a player there. And actually, he's done okay for us. And the numbers suggest that, and he has looked dangerous. He's definitely a quality footballer. Do you know what I mean? That he's, arguably could be amongst the elite. He's let himself down in recent years with going off the ball at Man United and his overall attitude. But if you look at him technically, very good, pace to burn. Like teams just fear him and stand up. It changes the way teams play when he's in your squad, and so for that, he's been great. But like you said, I don't think we're going to sign him anyway because the wages are going to be, unless it comes down to £2.50 a week. Like it's not, it ain't happening, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, so, I'd take him on that. If he agrees a 40 million transfer and £2.50 a week, then or maybe he can just go to local schools and feed them all. I don't know. That'll be more of an incentive.
I think it's frustrating because he has shown those moments of him being an absolutely world-class elite player. It's just the difference between these players and the really, really good players is that consistency. It's doing it week in, week out, and it's constantly doing it, being undroppable. And there was a period where he was undroppable, and Emery did drop him though. Emery has made some weird decisions like this, and I feel like it may have affected his rhythm, or maybe he just didn't feel like he was fit. But again, I do feel like that decision to not have him on the left and only play him as a number 9. And I was like, he was having so much success on the left. So much. Him, Asensio, Rodgers were all linking up so well. And then, like I said, I can't see Emery doing it. I can only see him saying, look, I want to play as striker. And, I think he said it with Man U as well, hasn't he? He wants to play as a number 9. And I just don't think that's him. I don't think that's the best place for him. And with the consistency and the effort, you're 100% right. Like the amount of time, and that's probably the only thing about him being a winger is he does not track back. No. He is not going to do that.
He only goes back to the halfway line, doesn't he?
So potentially that's a little bit of a consideration there of him being a winger is he's not going to help you behind. No. It's a weird one, and I think with the wage, I just feel like, and I don't know whether it's just because of media stuff in the past, the attitude. I just don't feel like he's not willing to take a pay cut. Apparently, that is all the signs that are coming out from anyway. He's not willing to take a pay cut. I'm like, mate, you're on 350k a week. Do you really think you are actually worth that as a player who hasn't really properly played for about 2 years? You believe you should be on 350 grand a week still?
Here's what I think is going to happen, because I think he's going to go back to United. I think he'll run out his contract because it's up in August, right? So it'll go right to the end of the transfer window, and he'll go wherever. But he'll
go somewhere big, and he won't. He'll be a bit. Not a bit part, but he won't hit the levels that he could.
Right, if he goes to Barcelona, his career's over. He's not taking Rafinha's place. He's not taking Yameen Lamal's place. It's just that's not happening. Is it? You know what I mean? Like without that consistency, like he's as good as he's been for us. And I will say the positive about it is him and Asensio galvanised our season, because we were going through that rough patch, and the signings absolutely changed it around, and we probably are where we are thanks to their input. However, as you said, we're talking about consistency. We're talking about going to the next level. Is he the player to do that? Similar to Watkins, as good as he's probably good enough to do it, but his head's all over the place, mate. He, like you say, he's used to that salary. He thinks he's bigger than he is, and so when you've got a player like that who's got the potential and doesn't put the effort in, it's frustrating, because he could be a world beater and he could be a world class elite player, and that's the player we need, and we need that energy, but you need it every game for all the minutes that you're playing. And he hasn't had that for 3 seasons. Like 3 seasons ago, he scored 30-odd goals. He was unplayable, mate. Get that Rashford back consistently, mate. I'd pay anything for him. But as it stands going forward, I don't know. I don't think Emery's going to do it. I think it was a case of we've got him for half a season. He's helped us. I'm amazed that it hasn't already been announced. But maybe there is some sort of hope, because if he's injured and he's not playing any part in our game, why would he be still with us? Do you know what I mean? Just send him back to Man United. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I can't see it. Like I said, the wages, I can't see it. I'm guessing, again, it's a similar thing with, like, say, for instance, the Kamara offer on the table. Everyone's waiting to see where we finish before they have that conversation. And it probably is just a case. And like I said, I think it's very unlikely. I think that he will stay. If he does stay, with the wages he would be on, he would have to play basically every game for it to be worth every single game. So the only other thing you think of is if Watkins is potentially going, then if Emery does see him as a number 9 and sees it him and someone else as competition, then potentially there's something there. But I just had a look quickly at the stats. Obviously, you got 4 goals. He didn't get a single goal in the Champions League, which I'm a bit surprised at. I'm kind of like, again, they're those big goals, those big games.
Oh, mate, he was unlucky though when he in the away leg. That Donnarumma made an absolute brilliant save from him when he that would have been an absolute wonder goal. It's a shame really, because of the potential that is there. But Emery will ultimately know best, and I just don't see it happening. But if it did happen and we did get him, mate, obviously I'd be 100% behind him. At this point, I'd take him over Watkins anyway. Like I just, But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, one of the problems I just have is that I feel like if stuff started to go not quite right for him, and the fans got on his back and stuff. I just don't see him pulling himself out of it.
Yeah, he's a liability, mate. I don't see it happening personally. I don't think it's been nice while it's lasted. He's been it's been a good signing for us. Do you know what I mean? It has been a good signing for us, and we've got a lot out of him. I just don't see him as a long-term investment, in terms of getting the squad where we need to be. So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm trying to find. Oh, damn it! I was trying to get the picture of the guy who was wearing the Rashford shirt. I was going to say he obviously thinks that we're going to sign him. But anyway,
Rashford for cash.
Yeah. What would you give him out of 5?
Mate, it's got to be a 4, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's only the effort. If you look at those numbers, 6 assists, 4 goals. Like as I said before, the way he puts fear into teams because of that pacing behind is an absolute weapon to have, really. And so,
I think what he did for what him and Asensio both did for our season, they have literally given us this hope. I think without those signings, it doesn't happen.
So he gets a 4 from me, mate, because no one's perfect, so he can't have the 5.
I agree. So over the course of those 5, on average, what are we saying? About 3.5, a 3.75. It feels like quite a good. It was a brilliant. It really was a galvanizing transfer window for the team.
I think overall it strengthened us, didn't it? Because once we had the fully fit squad, you then start to see that we've actually got some squad depth, and actually we've got some decent players that can replace the starting 11. And as we say, it's not. So it started to feel, and the 8 wins in 9 Premier League games. It shows that there's that consistency with the little injuries that we've had. Players just step in and it works. And the performances haven't been brilliant, but we've churned out the results and ground them out, and that's a sign of a great team. If we can just get the levels up to playing with a better tempo, which is something I've complained about for the last 2 seasons under Emery. But again, that is having the quality of the players to play the system, but play it at pace. And be accurate with those. The Spurs game was classic, wasn't it? With that, the first half, where they just sat behind the ball and we didn't move the ball quick enough. And Asensio and Rodgers were not involved in the game enough, and it was a bit frustrating. But it turned out actually to be probably an easy win in the end. We dominated the game and kind of, we could have probably won 3 or 4. But it's really fascinating in terms of where we go from here now, because you mentioned just then about. Like players will come and go depending on where we finish, and actually it's in their hands to get us Champions League football. Like we have to just do what we have to do on Sunday and beat Man United. And at the moment everyone's going, well, most people are saying because of the record at Old Trafford that it's a banana skin, and I've heard lots of rumours, well, not rumours, but lots of buzzings about you're not going to do it. But I think there's a few pundits actually that are actually saying that it's possible, and our percentage from 16.5% a couple of weeks ago on Sky went up to 49.6. So
yeah, it has. I mean, it's not in our hands, right? Like even if we
not in our
Chelsea have to slip up, or Newcastle need to slip up. But like it should on paper it shouldn't be an issue. It's just we have, like we said, had this thing about us bottling it in the big game, not taking the opportunity when we get it. Man U's just horrible, like 2 wins in 15 years, where it is at Old Trafford. And it's just like, it's actually quite sickening. And players like Rashford can't play. So it's also, we just got to hope that we turn up.
This is our cup final, isn't it? This is the FA Cup final that didn't happen.
For me, it's the same as Spurs again. If we can score within if we score first, we'll collapse.
Yeah.
And if we can score within that first half hour, I think the crowd shuts up. The whole thing, like, it becomes our day.
But save that, mate, for the Man United preview on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, I was about to say,
giving away all the juicy bits.
Obviously that is for our Man U preview, which will come out on Thursday morning. It obviously the game's on Sunday, 4:00. Are they usually Sunday 4:00? Are they usually like 3:00?
No, it's not. Yeah, but it's because it's the last day, so every game kicks off at 4:00, isn't it? So they can do that.
I always think they were 3. Maybe I'm wrong on that,
mate. Isn't it? It's always 4. They have that 4:30 kick off to start the night. They dominate that. So it's all for TV purposes, mate. They'll be flitting between those four games, won't they? And
like 24. And beep, beep,
yeah.
We've got that like the editing when they're like different angles. Everyone, Emery's face. Now you got Eddie Howe's face. Now you got Nuno's face, and you got they'll do more. Anyway, that's all we got time for on this one. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. How do you think the transfer window, that winter those transfers, not the window, just how the transfers went?
Yes, be specific, mate.
Season. Will we sign Rashford full time? Will we sign Asensio full time? Will we sign Disasi full time? Will Marlon get more minutes next season? Will Garcia play? Who knows? All these questions coming up to you on the next episode.
Bravo, mate. That was brilliant. Well done.
Anyway, guys, sing us out as always.
Here we go. Every week we follow. There's boys in claret and blue. Peace and love from the garden.